Well, I think I have more questions, but I want to make sure, just given the time, and also that we.
I have one that I want to squeeze in because I'm all excited about
sure.
this.
Yeah.
As you've heard, I've been around for a long time. And I'm sitting in an investment committee meeting, and we're getting a review by the manager of why it didn't happen to be their particular kind of market, and it just happened to be that instead of doing better than the market, they happen to do slightly less well, but they've done some wonderful things to improve, and they're going to be able to do terrific in the future. And I'm looking at the numbers, and I realized, never actually realized it. After 40 some odd years, 48 years, I hadn't realized what the fees are. Now, most of us in this room would be able to say, oh, fees are small. Fees are really small. It's usually a four-letter word, a single number. Only is the four-letter word, and 1% is the single number. Well, the 1% is not accurate. Mutual funds typically run closer to 1.25% of the assets. But then I would turn to Bert and say, but Bert, you've already got the assets. So the fee isn't what you're paying for what you're getting, because you've already got the assets. What are you getting? Oh, Charlie, we're getting a return. Great. Normal expectation of returns here, given the market's gone up a fair amount, going forward might be 7 or 8% on average, with lots of ups and downs in between. So that 1% or a little over 1% as a percent not of assets, but a percent of the returns, what's that work out to be? Oh, let me do the math. Well, call it 15%. That doesn't sound like only. I guess not. I guess it's really actually pretty high. And then when I was in school studying economics, we all were taught everything is comparative price. So what's the commodity product and the commodity price? And then what's the custom product and the custom price? The commodity product is an index fund. It gets you the market rate of return every day, every week, every month, every year, same old market rate of return at no more, no less than the market level of riskiness. Okay, that's a pretty good commodity product. What's it cost? 1/10 of 1%. Okay, now I can get a custom tailored product, and what does it cost? Well, it costs, if it's 10 basis points for one, it's 120 basis points for the other. So incremental cost is 110 basis points. Gee, I must get a pretty good return in exchange for that, don't I? No, Charlie, I'm sorry, but you don't. Actually, you get more risk. You get a lot of uncertainty because you never know when something's really going to go wrong, but leave that aside. More risk, and on average, 3/4 of the funds that are actively managed, maybe it's 80% of the funds, somewhere in there, underperform the benchmark that they said they were going to match. And you never can figure out who's going to underperform. Most, and you can never figure out who's going to outperform. There's no way of doing it. So what you're doing when you get a custom tailored product is you're paying a much higher fee for a less quality and a lower return. And it is just amazing that that's something that continues year after year after year. And it can't last for long, but really smart people are going to figure it out and say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the commodity product because it's cheaper and better return, and I've got better things to do with my time than chewing my nails over whether I'm going to be okay or not okay.
Let me just put a footnote on this, Charlie, because I've just done some work on 401k plans. And in general, the cost is more like 2% than 1% because then there's a wrap fee around the high-priced mutual funds that are in there. And so you might say instead of getting a 7% return, you get only a 5% return. So your way of looking at it is it's not 2%. It's really 2/7 is what you're paying. But it's even worse than that because these costs compound. If you think of putting money in at 7% for 40 years or putting money in at 5% for 40 years, that difference at the end isn't even 2/7. You're getting about half the amount at the end because the tyranny of the compounding of the costs gets you. So again, it is just so important. If you got something for it, fine, but you don't. The evidence is unmistakable that you don't. It's getting tougher and tougher all the time. The market's not always right, but there are a few Warren Buffetts. I sometimes say, if when I wrote my book, I knew that Warren Buffett was going to be Warren Buffett, I wouldn't have said buy an index fund. I would have said go buy Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's investment company.